There are places we remember, even though we've never been there, cities we miss, people we long for, without ever knowing their names. Sometimes they don't exist in the waking world at all. They exist only in dreams, and somehow they feel more real than reality itself. Have you ever had a dream so vivid, so real, that when you woke up, you weren't quite sure what was reality and what was a memory from your sleep? I want to share one of those dreams with you today. It's a dream I had years ago, but it stuck with me, etched into my mind like a scene from a movie I can't forget. It started in a place I'd never seen before, yet it felt deeply familiar. I was standing on a cobblestone street in a city that seemed to be from another time. The buildings were old, with ornate carvings and balconies overflowing with flowers I couldn't name. The air was warm and smelled of rain-soaked earth and something sweet, like baking bread. It wasn't my city, not my time, but in the dream, it was home. I wasn't alone. A person was walking beside me. I couldn't see their face clearly. It was always just out of focus, like an old photograph, but I knew them. I knew them with a certainty that went beyond sight. It was a feeling in my chest, a warmth that spread through me every time they spoke, even though I can't recall the sound of their voice. We were walking without a destination, just enjoying the quiet companionship, the feeling of being completely understood without needing to say a word. The city was bathed in a perpetual twilight. The sky was a deep, impossible shade of violet and orange, with stars just beginning to peek through. Street lamps cast a soft, golden glow on the wet stones, making everything shimmer. There was no one else around. It was just us in our own private world. We walked past quiet canals where silent boats drifted and through archways covered in ivy. Every corner we turned revealed something even more beautiful than the last: a hidden courtyard with a bubbling fountain, a small bookshop with its windows lit from within. I remember we stopped by one of the canals. We sat on a stone bench and my companion pointed up at the sky. A flock of birds, shining as if they were made of silver, flew across the twilight canvas. They didn't make a sound. Everything was peaceful, serene. In that moment, I felt a sense of happiness so pure, so complete, it was almost overwhelming. It was a feeling of belonging, of being exactly where I was meant to be. There were no worries, no anxieties, no noise from the outside world. It was just pure, unadulterated peace. This feeling is the core of why I can't forget this dream. We all have moments in our lives where we feel content, but this was different. This was a state of being I had never experienced before, awake or asleep. It was a profound sense of rightness. The connection with this faceless person was deeper than any I've known. It was as if our souls were old friends, and in this dream they were finally reunited. We started walking again, and my companion led me to a tall, slender tower that reached up into the violet sky. It had a winding staircase on the outside. We began to climb. The steps were worn smooth with age, and as we ascended, the city unfolded below us like a map. The lights, the canals, the quiet streets, it was all there, a perfect, sleeping world. The higher we climbed, the more the feeling of peace intensified. It felt like we were climbing towards the stars themselves. At the very top of the tower, there was a small, circular platform. We stood there, side by side, looking out at the dreamscape. The wind was gentle, carrying the scent of flowers from the balconies below. My companion finally turned to me, and for a fleeting second I thought I was going to see their face. But just as they started to come into focus, a soft bell began to chime somewhere in the city. 1 chime, 2, 3. It was a gentle sound, but it signaled the end. I knew it. A feeling of sadness, a gentle melancholy started to creep in, replacing the perfect happiness. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in this city with this person forever. My companions seemed to understand. They reached out, not to touch me, but just as a gesture of reassurance. I felt that warmth again, a silent promise that it was okay. With each chime of the bell, the world around me began to fade. The vibrant colors of the sky softened into gray. The edges of the buildings blurred. The golden light from the street lamps flickered and died. The person beside me became more and more transparent, like a ghost. I tried to hold on, to memorize every last detail, to burn the image of this perfect world into my brain. The last thing I remember is the feeling of that deep, unconditional connection, a final wave of warmth before everything dissolved into darkness. And then I woke up. My room was dark, the only light coming from the crack under my door. For a few long moments, I was completely disoriented. The feeling of the dream was so real, so tangible, that waking life felt like the illusion. I could still feel the phantom sensation of the stone bench, smell the rain and the bread, hear the silence of the silver birds, and the ache in my chest, the longing for that faceless companion and that twilight city was painfully real. I lay there for a long time, trying to piece it all together. Who was that person? What was that city? Why did it feel more like a memory than a dream? I've never been a person who puts much stock in dream interpretation. I usually see them as just the brain's way of processing the day's events, a jumble of random thoughts and images. But this was different. This felt significant. Over the years, I've thought about this dream a lot. I've tried to find places that look like that city. I've looked through photos of old European towns, hoping to see a familiar cobblestone street or a canal that sparks a memory. But I've never found it, and maybe that's the point. Maybe it doesn't exist anywhere but in my own mind. Some people might say it was a past life memory. Others might say it's my subconscious creating a perfect ideal of peace and companionship. Maybe it represents a longing for a connection that transcends the physical world. I don't have an answer, and honestly, I'm not sure I want one. The mystery is part of what makes it so special. What I do know is that the dream left a permanent mark on me. It gave me a new understanding of what peace and happiness can feel like. It's a standard that I now, perhaps unfairly, hold up to my waking life. It's not about finding that exact city or that person. It's about seeking that feeling of quiet contentment, of deep connection, of being exactly where you're supposed to be. The dream taught me that the most profound experiences aren't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they are as quiet as a walk through a silent city at twilight. It taught me that connection isn't always about faces or names. It's a feeling, a recognition of another soul. Whenever I feel stressed or lost, I close my eyes and try to go back there. I picture the violet sky, the golden street lamps, the feeling of that warm, knowing presence beside me, and for a moment I can almost feel that perfect peace again. It's a mental sanctuary I can visit whenever I need to. I wanted to share this with you all because I think we all have these kinds of experiences, these unforgettable moments from our inner worlds that shape us in some small or large way. Maybe you've had a similar dream, one that felt more real than reality, one that left you with a feeling you've been chasing ever since. I'd love to hear about it. What's a dream you've never been able to forget? Share your story in the comments below. Let's talk about these strange, beautiful, and mysterious worlds we visit when we sleep.